Metal Gear Delta. Playing Metal Gear Delta makes me think of simpler times, specifically times when I was just 9 years old and my only worry was winning Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels in school or what flavor juice box I was getting, because that's when I first played this. I was 9. Good thing my mother did not know what was in this game or she for sure would not have let me play it. Metal Gear Delta is a remake of 2004's Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, and it's an adventure game, shooter game, adventure game, and unknowingly to Google primarily a stealth game, though you wouldn't know that from watching my gameplay as I mow down hordes of enemies with my handy dandy M63. And it was created by Hideo Kojima. I say this because Konami for letting Kojima go and pursuing those stupid pachinko games and besmirching the great name of Metal Gear by putting snippets of cutscenes on pachinko machines makes me sick, and I had to pay respect to the OG, so yeah, suck my Konami. The story. Oh boy, where do we begin? It's extremely convoluted and has more twists than a twist tie factory, so basically, you're Naked Snake. You gotta go over to Russia and steal some rocket scientist named Sokolov from them because America wants to make bombs better than Russia. You find him, and he talks for 15 minutes straight, but then a cringe guy named Revolver Ocelot comes and meows to summon his comrades, and then they try to stop you, but you quickly mop the floor with all of them because Cringe Slot wants to show off in the middle of battle and tries manually loading a round into his Makarov and it jams. After beating the absolute brakes off those clown boys and voiding each of their warranties, you try to take Sokolov to the extraction point, but uh-oh, your old mentor, the boss, who defected to the Soviet Union, shows up with her band of ragtag mutant buddies that can control bees and shit, and they take Sokolov. She then proceeds to give you a thorough ass-whooping and throws you off a bridge, but you survive and have to treat your wounds. Then a Scarface electric guy named Colonel Volgina nukes a research facility with some Davy Crockett's that the boss stole before she defected. Well, the Soviets aren't exactly thrilled about this development, and American missiles were used, so they tell America, yo, we think you nuked us, so come here, kill the boss and Volgin, or we blame you for the nuke and we do big war. So you, once again as Naked Snake, like a glutton for punishment, have to go back to Russia to prove America's innocence by slaughtering the woman who trained you and Volgina. I could go on and make a whole video about the crazy double, triple agents and the double crossing that goes on in this game, but you got the gist, and if you're playing this, you probably already know all this already. This game is absolutely targeting people who like a good story. Metal Gear is known for its over-the-top story with absurd twists all baked up in the insane mind of Hideo Kojima, and also insanely long, detailed cutscenes. One of them was like 30 minutes. You can play Metal Gear Delta with a controller or mouse and keyboard, and I recommend controller for not only the nostalgia boner, but it just plays better with a controller in my opinion. You can play Metal Gear Delta on any of these fine platforms. There is no cross-saving between platforms, and lastly, here's the menu settings. Graphics-wise, the game looks great. Much better than Arma Reforger, because I ruffled some feathers when I talked about the graphics not being the best in Arma, so I'm gonna double down and bring that up again. Anywho, do I need to say much? Look at the blood on the ground here. Look at the mountain range. Mud will stick to your clothes for a little bit if you roll around in it like a little piggy. Oink! It's vibrant and gorgeous. Meets the standards set by AAA games. No complaints here. However, as the ancient proverb said, with great graphics comes great system requirements. You need a 3080 and 100 gigs of space to run this game, which is a little advanced. The general gameplay loop goes as follows. Go from area to area while being a sneaky boy and cutting throats and stealthily knocking people out, or not so sneaky and just slaughtering the various enemies and avoiding traps. Or get caught by them 19 years later still, like me. And then you occasionally fight a boss. It's not complicated. There's a few parts that change up the gameplay, like when you can don the scientist uniform to go meet up with Granin, or the one part where you steal Major Rykov's clothes, which will cause all the soldiers to salute you when you walk by them, which will leave them vulnerable to your tender mercies. And even though you slap them around a little bit, they'll still salute you. I had a lot of fun on this part when I was 9. Every time you beat the story mode, you get a rank based on your performance, and you unlock a bunch of other stuff depending on what you did in your playthrough for your next playthrough. Additionally, there's the snake versus monkey mode, which I won't spend too much time on, but you have to go around and beat the hell out of some monkeys and capture them before the time runs out. It was in the original game, and I'm not really sure why they put it in, but yeah, it's here. There's also the part where you're in the jail cell after getting caught, and when you save the game and restart it, you can, just like the original game, play the Guy Savage minigame in a nightmare that Snake has. It's a Bloodborne-inspired hack-and-slash game, and it's surprisingly fun. Also, when you beat the game, you unlock an expanded version of that mode, and you can play whenever. The mechanics of the game are slightly more complicated, but not really. There's a new aiming mode, which turns the game into a third-person shooter instead of a weird Resident Evil type shooter with first-person view for precise aiming. You can go into first-person view in cutscenes for some precise gooning during the scenes with Eva. I'm very glad they left this in the game. You can press against a wall to hide. You can knock on a wall to draw enemies near you. You can do a roll, which can be used to dodge, knock someone over, or to clear obstacles. You can go prone and crawl around. You can crouch and crouch walk, unlike the original game. You can hit him with the 3-piece McNugget. You can throw guards like it's the WWE. You can grab a guard and put him in a chokehold, which gives you access to more mechanics. You can aim and use your captives as a human shield. You can threaten to slit their throat to get information. You can actually slit their throat for a quick silent takedown. You can choke them unconscious instead of killing them for all you tree-loving hippies. You can look around in first person outside of a cutscene and stand on your tippy toes to see over things. You can quickly unequip and re-equip weapons to instantly reload them. You can cycle through weapons and equipment. This is the survival viewer. From here, you can access the map to see where you gotta go. You can eat food to replenish your stamina, which will sometimes give you a little cinematic showing Snake committing cannibalism. Yes, you have to hunt your own food or your tummy is gonna start rumbling and you're gonna have lower stamina, causing your hands to shake when aiming, regenerating life slower, etc. There's a backpack where you can pick items to have access to in your inventory. There's a camouflage menu, which lets you change what camo you're wearing to blend in with your surroundings better or disguise yourself. Some of them even have additional effects like better life regen. The higher this number, the better concealed you are, and it'll actually affect how well the guards can see you. There's also a quick change camo feature now, which is pretty nifty. Lastly, here's the medical screen. If you get shot or stabbed or anything else really, you'll get injured and have less max HP, and you'll need to use certain medical items to treat wounds like bandages and suture kits for cuts. You can move quietly by stalking and sneak up behind a guard and tell them to freeze, then aim at their nuts or head to rob them. You can whip out your radio and shoot the shit with Major Zero, or save your game through paramedic, or listen to Sigint tell you about guns and equipment that you have. You can hide in a locker, you can hang off a ledge and drop down to catch another ledge like you're Jackie Chan or something. Last thing I'll talk about here is the boss fight with the boss at the end of the game. You can now parry and counter grapple with her when she tries to use CQC on you by hitting the right trigger when it goes into slow motion to counter and then slam her. There's a whole host of weapons and equipment for you to deliver your enemies from their sins with. You've got the single action army, which is a revolver. It functions like a revolver and you can spin it on your finger like a store brand version of Revolver Ocelot. This is my favorite weapon in the game, the M63. It's a machine gun with a very large magazine and you scream while you're shooting it, which enables very highly tactical and stealthy gameplay. Of course, you have your custom 1911 that Eva gives you early on in the game, which is a funny scene because Eva's doing all this hoeing around, unzipping her jacket to show off her titties to try to get Snake interested, but he just ignores her and gets super excited when she gives him this 1911 and he starts ogling it and admiring it instead of her. You got your standard combat knife, which is good for shanking unsuspecting guards as they come around corners. You have the RPG, which actually has the fire rate of a pump-action shotgun if you get good at quickly reloading it. There's even things like TNT that you can put underneath incapacitated enemies, then wait for their buddies to come and check on them and blow them all to outer heaven. And of course, there's the classic cardboard box that you can use to hide from less perceptive enemies. You got thermal goggles to see the bad guys better. You got sonar, mine detector, anti-personnel detector, motion detector, all for detecting edible animals, enemies, and mines. For enemy variety, you have your standard lobotomy patient guards that the cutscenes make seem badass, but they really just kind of walk around and wait for you to obliterate them in any way you see fit. If they see you, they'll shoot at you and try to call on their radio for backup. As long as you dispatch them before they shoot at you while there's other guards around or they call on the radio, you won't enter the actual alert phase, and no reinforcements will come. There's a couple variations of them, like the ones with the flamethrowers on the mountain or the ones with the flying machines, but they all behave relatively the same. These aren't really enemies, but they're scientists that'll try to hit the alarm button on the wall if they see you in a few parts of the game. They won't fight you, so just put a couple bullets in them and call it a day. We don't follow the Geneva Convention here. There's also some animals that'll hurt you, like the scorpion. It'll sting you and poison you. You'll have to go into the treatment window and take some serum to get rid of it. Lastly, there's bosses. Here's a few of them. You got Cringe Boy Extraordinaire, Revolver Ocelot. He talks like a cringe anime villain and moves his hands around a lot. You beat the shit out of him a few times throughout the game, but there's a part where you fight him across a canyon with guns, which is cool. There's also a part where you roast the engravings on his gun, which has become a meme, so that's funny.
But the engraving gives you no tactical advantage whatsoever.
There's the Cobra unit, which are the boss, your mentors, squad mates, and they're all named after their powers / fighting style. For example, the Pain can control bees, which if you've ever touched grass at a point in your life, you'll likely have experienced the pain firsthand. The Fury has a big ass flamethrower and jetpack, and he'll try to freme brulee your ass. The End is an old guy and also a plant, cause he can do photosynthesis to heal, and he brings lives to their end by sniping them. If you try to fight him head on, it usually ends poorly. Instead, fight him the better way, which is to just sneak up behind him with a big ass machine gun and mow him down over and over till he's dead. There's Colonel of Volgina, which I talked about earlier. He's got lightning powers and the ability to identify a man by grabbing their crotch to check if their snake is solid or not, which let him figure out that you were not his gay lover, Major Rykov. You fight him in a conventional 1v1, and also after beating his ass when he hops into Shagohod and chases you and Eva around Groznygrad until the final showdown, where the best strategy is to sit behind a box and blow him up with an RPG. Each boss has their own personality and combat style which goes along with their name. Like, look at the fear. Tell me you wouldn't shit yourself if you saw this fine fellow at the foot of your bed at 3 a.m. There is currently no multiplayer. However, they do have plans for it. Allegedly, in fall of 2025, they'll be releasing Fox Hunt. This is what Google Gemini had to say about it. Read it if you care. In summary, it's gonna basically be some variation of hide and seek, but with death and guns. There is cosmetics and pay to win in the story mode if you count the camouflages that you get from the premium edition that give you advantages like no footstep sound in a single player mode as pay to win. Also, cutscenes show your character with whatever clothing you have on, so you can dress like a buffoon and it'll show it in a cutscene with a serious tone, which is kind of funny. For glitches, 99% of the game ran flawlessly. There was one time where my game bugged out and I had like 2 FPS and restarting it didn't fix it, so I had to reinstall the entire game to fix it, so that was annoying but manageable. Also, an unconscious guard disappeared one time, but that was just a minor immersion break. To recap, this game is a 1 to 0.95 remake of the original game. The Guy Savage mode is different, but better. The new aiming system is different, but better. And you can opt to play with the classic aiming mode if you're a purist. Crouch walking is new, but it enhances the gameplay. And being able to quick swap your camouflages now is pretty cool. The graphics are way better. They didn't change the narrative or locations or characters or dialogue or anything important to the soul of the game, which is good, and they only added things that made it better. Looking at the game now, some of the dialogue is a little more cringe than I remember at 9 years old, but still, the game is overall badass. And it gave me a huge nostalgia boner due to how faithful it is to the original. On our patented 0 to 1 scale, we give this game a 0.50 out of 1 because, well, Metal Gear is my favorite video game franchise of all time, and MGS3 was my favorite within that franchise. However, the reason it gets a 0.50 out of 1 is simply because Konami fired Kojima and then proceeded to make Metal Gear Survive, which was an absolutely disgraceful, abominable shit pile on fire in a dumpster covered in sewer sludge and rodent carcasses of a game that everybody hated, and tarnished Metal Gear's good name. If they kept Kojima and never made Metal Gear Survive, it would be a 0.98 out of 1 because my FPS died that one time. That's the only problem I had with the gameplay. If you've enjoyed this no bullshit review of Metal Gear Delta, please increase the solidity of our collective snakes by hitting that subscribe button, perform CQC on that like button, and comment your hatred for Metal Gear Survive below. Thank you, good night, and next time you see a snake in the woods or something, show your appreciation for Metal Gear Solid 3 by eating it raw on the spot in front of families filled with children. Their parents will appreciate your dedication to the fandom.